Everybody, welcome back. John Barnack and
Mark Whittington.
back with another episode of The Truth About Success.
Yeah, we're going to get serious about the truth now, aren't we?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, and so having said that, I love what Jay said. You guys won't necessarily know that. Hang around us a little bit more and you might know that. But Jay Massey, one of our coaches, actually said, I'm going to, when you speak the truth, you're going to offend people. And whose problem is that?
It's their problem.
Those being offended. Because you know what? It's not like I'm going to say something offensive. I mean, sometimes the truth can be offensive, but it is just the truth. It's not our truth. It's the truth we've been taught by all of our successful coaches and mentors, et cetera. And so if the truth offends you, you should probably assess kind of what your mindset is. So,
Well, today,
I like this week's topic.
Yeah, this week's topic is saving your way to wealth versus building your way to wealth.
I think there's an oxymoron in there somewhere. Can you really save your way to wealth?
Some people do, I think, over a long period of time. So the other thing, and we'll touch on it, is I guess how long do you want to wait to be wealthy?
Well, yeah, I just don't know anybody I can't think of anybody that's saved their way. I know people that have saved their way to a secure retirement, to where they don't have to go work at Walmart, but I'm not sure that would be wealth.
Well, everyone's got their own definition of wealth, right?
Yeah, I guess we'll just leave it at that for now.
Yeah.
Based on your definition of wealth, maybe you can say your thing.
Potentially good, but we're going to look at compare and contrast, right? And we'll look at both avenues and see where people end up. So I think a good place to start will be looking at the environment that we're already in and seeing where people end up who follow that strategy and saving their way to wealth. 60, if we look at 65 being a common retirement age, or maybe a goal for some people,
more like 67, but yeah,
67 and a half, right? Maybe something like that. I know people that looking to retire at 70 or 75. I guess people are living longer, so
yeah, I think most people I know that are looking to retire at 70 are doing so because that's as early as they can retire and have enough Social Security or whatever else they need to retire because they get fixed income. But
what their financial guidance.
When do you want to retire?
35.
Well, okay. I don't know how old you are. So that's what most people would say is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. I want to retire tomorrow. Which is not probably possible for too many people, but I don't ask too many people when they want to retire, regardless of what age they are. And they say 70. Doesn't happen. I can't think of one time that's ever happened. When do you want to retire? 83. Doesn't happen.
Maybe we should ask it a different way, because when you want to retire implies a choice, and
absolutely.
When do you think you'll retire,
or when will you be able to retire?
Yeah. So there's a couple ways to do that. But at age 65, 95% of Americans, America, richest country on the planet, right? 95% of Americans are dead, disabled, broke, still working, or dependent on someone else.
I don't like any of those categories.
And the last two, I don't know, maybe, I won't go there, but the last two, still working or dependent on someone else, right? A caregiver or child or, someone else, 75% fall into that category. So at least 5% of people that
what the hell is everybody doing?
Wealthy position. What do you think about that?
I just told you what I think about that. That sucks. Anybody want to volunteer? We do this a lot. So I always ask for volunteers. Who wants to volunteer for the dead category? Now that was my dad. Dead at 63. Not ever was that a part of his plan, but that's the way it went down.
Yeah. Well, my dad's still working. So.
And he's how old now?
67, 68. I think he just turned 68.
He's 68. Does he have? Can he retire now if he wanted to?
He could. He says that he'll get bored.
Okay.
He has something to do. So,
you want to be some truth in that for lots of people.
If he enjoys doing it. I would retire as early as I possibly could if it was up to me. But and I guess maybe a definite definition, right, of retirement is. So retirement for me personally isn't like I just sit around and don't do anything. I think a lot of people think that when you talk about retirement, it's like, oh, it's I'm just going to sit around and not do anything. For me, retirement is just when working becomes optional. When it's like I don't have to get up and punch a clock today, or I don't have to sell a house, or I don't have to write a policy. It's enough passive income or residual profit coming from the businesses that allow me to choose every single day.
Now, why don't you think your dad looks at it that way?
Well, it's a good question. Could lead us into our next.
Come on,
segment.
am I that good?
I mean,
I
don't know.
can't even read the paper without my glasses on.
Probably a combination of conditioning, conditioning from his parents. He grew up in the Depression. Well, he didn't grow up in the Depression era, but his parents grew up through like the Great Depression, so they've got that mindset, right? Save everything you possibly can, shove money under the mattress. So a little bit of conditioning there, but then also I think a lot of conditioning from like external environments and the people who quote unquote give us money, like lenders and banks. I think they have a lot to do with it around the psyche of how to build wealth and what you should be doing. I say should be doing, right, with your money.
Okay, but that's going to the right. Let's stay in the center. And I agree with what you said in the first place. Certainly his parents had a lot to do with it, but the educational system had a lot to do with it.
Yep.
So let's identify the mindset. From my perspective, what I'm hearing, the difference between you and your dad is your dad's mindset is trading time for money.
Yeah.
That's, and I need to make more money. I'll go get another job. I'll go trade more of my time for someone else's money. And I'll do that 2 and 3 and 4 times until I get enough of other people's money for the time that I give them.
Yeah.
And how many jobs can you have? I mean, we both probably known lots of people that had lots of jobs at one time to do that. And so what's contributed to that is certainly his parents and his parents, the environment they grew up in, and they passed it forward to him. But he grew up in an environment of his own, the education system, his employers over the years, our government. I mean, I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist because I'm not, but it's kind of hard to deny. They funnel us all into this W-2 category and tax the hell out of us.
Yep.
Why wouldn't they want us to stay in that W-2 category? It's the heaviest taxed way to earn income.
Yep.
And so the whole system, conspiracy theorist, I get it. The whole system. Now, what I don't believe is that the rich get richer because of some secret sauce. The rich do get richer, but most of the people that I know that are wealthy are trying to cram the knowledge of how to get wealthy down my throat.
Yeah.
So it's not a secret. Whether or not I choose to take it or not is completely up to me, but the whole system is not I mean, I talk to teachers all the time. We're not teaching kids how to balance a checkbook. We're not teaching, we don't teach them that. We're sure not teaching them how to get wealthy. Yeah. So the system that he grew up in has conditioned him. You said conditioning. I think the whole system has conditioned him to, gee, once I retire, I'm no longer trading my time for money. And what am I going to do with myself?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're saying to me, by the way, I agree with you, it's freedom. I don't ever intend to quit working. I just intend to do it when I want to, from where I want to, for as long or for as little as I want to. Right?
Yeah.
Whole different mindset. Have you had conversations with your dad accordingly? And is there any crack in the armor? Is he getting it all about, he's how old? 67?
68 now.
68. Kind of late in the game, but
no.
Does he then at least begin to understand your mindset?
I think he's gradually picking it up.
Like when you quit the good job you had, he was probably losing his mind.
Oh, yeah, forever.
To pursue,
let's say forever,
entrepreneurship.
Yeah, for several years. I remember it was, when you get another job, when are you gonna get another job? When are you gonna get another job? Right. And I didn't start off in real estate burning, making 100 grand or whatever. So it took me a little bit of time to build it up. And when are you gonna get another job? When are you gonna get another job? And I remember there was a day where I'd heard it for the last time, and I looked him right in the face and said, "Dad, I'm never getting another job.
I'm unemployable. That
Never
thing,
getting
a thing that your dad from his era probably could not stand to hear his son say, I'm unemployable.
never getting another job." I said, "I will be homeless before I go backwards." No,
I've never known you to be homeless, so you haven't had to go that route.
did not get that far, but that's how committed. I
You
was.
burn the bridge, burn the ship,
burn everything.
no escape.
Yeah.
Got to make it work or I'll end up homeless.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
I don't, maybe I probably wouldn't end up homeless. I know people, and my parents would never let me be homeless, but that's in my mind. How committed I
That was the consequence.
Yeah.
That you were avoiding.
Was it going to stop?
And I'd say we're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
At avoiding it, at least.
Yeah, for now.
All right. So I can't read it.
Well, so we're talking about the system, conditioning.
Uh-huh.
I agree with you. I think financial education or financial literacy needs to be inserted somewhere. I mean, maybe high school or something. High school would be a good spot, right before people get out into the real world and become adults.
We should, in
So-
fact, we should be inserting it.
Something
Whatever
like,
we got to do to do, we should be inserting it.
something like that.
I
But
know that.
taught at an earlier age how to do all this stuff and the different ways. I think it's, we've got kind of one path that a lot of institutes have laid out for most people to take. And unless you're like a courageous, crazy person, right, you can follow that path and just look for kind of the next rung up the ladder.
And you know what I find interesting too? I mean, so this isn't news to you, but for lots listening, it will be perhaps. But, the first question we ask is on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how important is financial freedom to you? Never ever worrying about money again, right? That's our first question.
Yep.
And what's the typical response?
10.
Without even thinking. And oftentimes it's 11, it's 12 without even thinking. I think people get that there's a place they want to go that they're not, and that they probably don't know how to get there. I don't know. Do you think most of them believe they can trade time for money? Now, they don't look at it that way, but they can have a job and end up wealthy? Or do you think they know there's a gap there?
I think on the surface, they believe it. And it's something that if I keep doing it, or if I work harder, if I do more,
Get another job,
right, I'll get there.
get another job and save all that money.
But I think there's something deeper that just doesn't always feel right. Or
Doesn't
like
compute. There's
it
some
feels
where
like
the
there's
equation doesn't add up.
something missing in the gap, where for me, it was like when I was at the factory, I'd look around and I'd see everybody still doing the same thing, still
The
complaining.
30-year-old, the 40-year-old, the 50-year-old,
yeah.
the 70-year-old.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, like this isn't the right path. Right?
Now, you didn't necessarily know what the path was, but you knew that wasn't it
No.
until you met some lunatic that, was it the cash flow quadrant?
It was the cash flow quadrant that
So we can't stress that enough. I don't know if that's in your notes, but cash flow quadrant. Let's just throw it out there and get it out of the way. Robert Kiyosaki, Google it, learn it, accept it. It's the red pill. Left-hand side, actively earning income. You've heard us talking about trading time for money. Upper left hand, W-2, most heavily taxed way to earn income. That's why the government wants everybody to have a job. Lower left hand, self-employed. You have a little bit more control, but there's still only 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week. You can only work so much. Little to no chance of financial freedom from the left side of the quadrant. Right side of the quadrant, leveraging a business asset, which is leveraging people. What do we mean by leverage? You're hiring people and they're doing work that you get a share of the revenue from.
Mhm.
Lower right hand is leveraging an investment asset. It could be money in the stock market. It could be gold. It could be real estate, but you're leveraging an investment asset. I think lots of people get enamored with real estate. I'm going to become a real estate investor and get wealthy. And there's lots of people talking about how you don't need, you use other people's money to do it. And there's a lot of truth in that. But realistically, after asking about financial freedom and how would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, when I'm going through this conversation with people, I always ask, because let's say your goal is to own a restaurant. Well, that's a business asset. But to open a restaurant could, at a minimum, 250, 300 grand. So my next question when I get to the right-hand side is, how much capital do you have? And what do you think most people say? What do most people say to you?
Not much.
Not much.
I'm looking for capital.
I'm looking, yeah, we hear that a lot, don't we?
Yeah.
So most people don't have capital. So A, they're not going to invest in an investment asset. They're not, I mean, they might have a 401k and some money in the market, but they're not going to put enough money in the market to live off of.
Mm.
So the investment asset part of the quadrant for most people is off the board. So if you can't get wealthy on the left-hand side and you don't have the capital to get wealthy on the right-hand side, lower right hand, you're left with one choice: upper right hand, own a business asset. That goes back to owning a restaurant, opening a restaurant. Well, anything that's going to require inventory of some sort. When you think about a restaurant, what do you need? Tables, chairs, silverware, napkins, food, cooks, waiters. I mean, it's very, very intensive in the capital you need to get into it. And if most people don't have capital, then what they got to do is find a business asset that they can get into with a relatively low barrier of entry as it relates to capital, right? And so therefore we've narrowed things down to such a degree that it's like the way forward is very, very clear if you're willing to accept it, right?
Yeah.
And so you've got to get wealthy, I don't even want to say wealthy, to get financially free, because that could mean that's different for everybody. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. But to get financially free, understanding that when we define financially free, it is you have more passive income than passive expenses, which will enable you to do what you want, when you want, where you want, for as long as you want, et cetera. Just like you said, that's your retirement. Yeah, I'm going to work, but only when I want to, not when I have to. Because I'm not going to get bored and go crazy because I'm going to work. But not today, not tomorrow. Hell, I'm going to be in Florida for 3 weeks. The only way you're going to get there without capital is upper right hand, leveraging, owning a business asset, which means leveraging people. Okay, that's established yet again.
Yeah. And then some of the education things like Rule of 72, compound interest, these are all like financial concepts that, again, aren't secrets. Everybody knows about them, but how often are they put in people's
everybody
lives?
doesn't know about them, but they're readily available for everybody to know about them.
Yeah.
Not too many people are sharing them with them. You could Google Rule 72. I hope you Google all this stuff. The Google's a great thing anymore, right? That and YouTube and deeper pockets, whatever. Rule 72, you should understand. Banks understand it.
Yeah, they do.
Right? And that's why they take our deposits and loan them out and create an arbitrage of interest, because they understand Rule 72. They understand compounding interest. Greatest wonder of the world, according to Einstein, I think.
Eighth.
Who?
I think he said the eighth wonder of the world.
Or
Or is it the ninth?
Could be.
Maybe there's eight wonders. Or
It's a wonder of the world.
one of the newest ones.
And again, these are just, it's just the truth. I mean, we're not making this stuff up. You can Google all of it. We'll expose you to it. We'll teach it to you. So again, I can't read this, but I think we're getting close. You love that, don't
That's so
you?
funny.
Yeah, you could have made it bigger.
It's regular size font.
Well, I'm not.
Back to the topic at hand. So saving your way to wealth.
Well, I think we've just debunked that.
Well, I want to drive it home. Okay. So good. And for people saying, "Oh, watching this," and even for ourselves, what would that actually take for someone to save their way to wealth? How much money would you need to live off of money that just I'll live off of interest, or money that just pays you interest over and over again? Mm-hmm. For most people, and we've talked to a couple of people, right? And we've done some financial analysis, which we're happy to do for anyone, and ask us how we could work together on that. Show you the path, right? Exactly where you need to go and what that dollar figure is down to the cent. For most people, it's about $3 to $5 million.
So you're talking about their financial independence number.
Financial independence number. I knew it had a very specific name.
That's why.
Yep, financial independence number. So we help people put that plan in place and show them what that is.
First, identify what that number is.
And then where are you at on the path to 3 to 5 million?
Right.
Right. And then the other
Well, they've already told us they don't have any capital, so we know where they're at on the path to 3 to 5 million. Right.
pretty close to, yeah. And then how much would you need to save a month, depending on when you want to?
Well, so those are variables, right? There's variables. It's just a math equation, right? So part of that is, well, first and foremost, determining what's the goal as far as when you're going to retire, and is that 5 years from now or 35 years from now? Because that's the time frame we have. And then based on that, in today's dollars, how much would you need to retire? Now, again, we're not talking about wealth. We're talking about not having to work at Walmart when you decide you're going to retire. In most people's mindset, retiring means not working anymore, right?
Yeah.
So how much do you need today? And then we have to inflate that over that period of time.
Has anyone seen what gas is up to?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, inflation's real, so better take that in consideration.
So we have to inflate that.
Mhm.
And so 10,000 a day in 30 years is going to be 30,000 a month, whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
But now we have that target out there in the future. And then we can say, okay, are you going to be likely to be conservative or aggressive when you retire? Most people would say conservative.
Mhm.
So there's an amount of return that we can get conservatively to provide that $30,000 in income. Now, the more conservative you are, the bigger that financial independent number is going to need to be, because 30,000 at 3% is harder to create than 30,000 at 10%.
Mhm.
But whatever that is, that'll determine the financial independence number. Now we have the long-term wealth goal, right?
And 3 million versus 9 million.
Right. But now we come back to today and say, okay, that period of time has already been established, and that's set. Now we have to, at different rates of return, based on your risk tolerance, determine what you need to start saving per month today to hit that goal at those varying rates of return.
Yes.
And that's the plan that you're talking about.
30 to 40 years down the road. And then,
And I think most people get that. If they need 3 to 5 million and they know where they're at today, they can't expect to have that in 10 years. We can show them how. It's going to blow their damn mind.
I've seen some pretty large numbers.
But I think our target in that would be, well, I mean, we tell people all kinds of numbers, anywhere from 300 to 3,000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how many times you've done it, but it's a blow to people. It's like, okay, here's the plan. You need to start saving $3,675 a month to hit your goal.
How do you do that? Work more.
I'm going to go get 5 more jobs.
5 jobs, right? Divide and conquer.
But that's the reality. That's the red pill of saving your way to a secure retirement.
And nothing wrong with that. If you start early enough and or you can make enough money somehow to.
So nothing wrong with that as long as you can afford it.
As long as you can afford it, not just the cost, but also the time. Because
if you're willing to wait that long.
If you're willing to wait that long.
Yep.
So what we talked about, what I think we talked about in one of our previous episodes, wealth equivalency,
Mhm.
right? And then being able to build wealth through the business asset and having a business pay you residual profit in the same amount that.
So what we're saying by wealth equivalence, and again, we've kind of already narrowed down for well, we already know 95% of the people are going to have dead,
Disabled, broke,
dead,
still
disabled,
working,
broke
independent.
at age 65. So for 95% of the people, we need to help you understand what wealth equivalency is, because you're not going to have the investment asset to live on. That's the statistic.
Mhm.
So instead of $3 to $5 million in the bank, you build a business that pays you that same $30,000 a month or whatever it was. And typically you can do that faster than you can save that 3 to 5 million. And if you've got a business, regardless of the amount of money you have in the bank, regardless of the value of the business. All that matters in that scenario is cash flow. If your business is paying you $30,000 a month, that's the equivalent wealth to having 3 to 5 million in the bank.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's what we're reviewing or referencing back to.
Yeah. And as long as you have the right systems in place and it continues to operate without you, you could be anywhere in the world. Money comes in, right? So what does that really mean? Got to build distribution.
Gotcha.
Right. Because you got to have, most businesses offer a product or a service. And unless you plan on selling or providing, right, all the service or all the products, that system got to be in place.
Well, I don't think we've mentioned this book. And I'm now that comes to my mind, and it's not going to, oh my goodness, it will come to me.
It'll come back to you in a second.
But the reality, even in that case, right, is that most small business owners never get what we're talking about. So here we talked about left-hand side.
The E-Myth.
Thank you.
Is the book.
Now we're talking about we've talked about the left-hand side. Now we're on the right-hand side and still talking about the challenges. Upper right-hand quadrant, small business owners don't get what you just said. And they continue to work in their business. Mm-hmm. And the E-Myth will teach you that that's the death knell of most businesses. Yep. Because you got to work on your business to get to where you're talking about, to have a business. And so you're building distribution through, again, leveraging other people. It's the other people that are distributing your product or service. You're out of it. You're working on it, not in it. And now that business can start to pay you independently that income. Yeah. So build distribution. That's what we mean by that.
Or if you're like Warren Buffett,
buy Coke.
You could buy it. So cool example of the power of distribution. I've got a couple of them actually. Warren Buffett bought Coca-Cola. I don't know how long ago it was now, but bought Coca-Cola.
Well, his business did.
His business did. So, yeah. Right. Warren Buffett's business bought Coca-Cola because they sell 1.8 million 8-ounce glasses of Coke a day.
Didn't even know that.
No. That's the only reason why he bought it. And after he bought it, he raised the price 1 penny and is now making millions, probably more a month. I'd have to do the math on that. Didn't have to create the product, didn't have to do any marketing, didn't have to build any systems, didn't have to create any distribution channels. He bought Coca-Cola because they sell 1.8 million 8-ounce glasses, raised the price a penny, makes millions more every single year.
Distribution.
McDonald's, another good one. They became, overnight became the largest distributor of chicken when they started selling chicken nuggets, right? Not because they got the best chicken nuggets, because they had the most distribution locations.
Outsold Kentucky Fried Chicken.
They got chicken in their name and got beat by a clown.
Got beat by a clown overnight.
Yeah.
Because of distribution.
So wealth equivalency, building a business could potentially get you there faster.
I guess you could say could. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at a quote from one of our mentors who's built distribution in the financial services business, which is one of the most residual rich businesses in the world. Number one. Number two, I can't imagine money's ever going to go out of style. It's not like it's ever going to not be in demand. I know Bitcoin, all that crap would argue. But here's a quote from him. He said, "I have not found a more lucrative return on an investment. Not Bitcoin, not stocks, not real estate, not bonds, not private equity, not mutual funds. I have not found a more lucrative return on investment than building a business that produces endless amounts of recurring income." And by that, he means endlessly distributes, in his case, services. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know what he makes, the millions he makes, but he's worth listening to and paying attention to.
If he's making millions, yeah. And exponentially could grow on its own once you get
his business is now growing on its own.
Yeah,
right.
Once you get
all he's doing is putting crap on Instagram. His business growth.
Yeah. Pretty cool concept. Well, and it's not anything that's out of reach. It's definitely not something that is unreasonable, not possible. We know hundreds of people doing it right now that we're learning from. And that's where most of this information comes from.
Well, and so again, let's be fair. I mean, we're talking, we have a business. We're business partners. This is what we do. This is for your benefit. But ultimately, we if you're curious to know what our way forward would be for you, ask us. That's what we're here for, right? We're in money and we're in real estate. We're in housing. Distributing the services, representing buyers and sellers, redeveloping properties, short-term rental properties. We're in real estate. And so in housing and money, it's never going to go out of style. There's ups and downs, but with our diversification, with the enterprise that we've built, we're ready for any of that. And so ask us how. If you're that person in the 95% that we've identified, you don't really have a choice. And I mean, that's the bitter red pill, but that is the red pill. You really don't have a choice but to find a way to transition from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, specifically into the upper right-hand side, because you don't have the capital to start a business or to invest and live off of it. And within the upper right-hand side, because you don't have the capital, you got to find a business with a relatively low barrier of entry as it relates to the money to get started.
Yeah.
And so in our businesses, that's licensing. That's what you're going to pay for. You're going to get a professional license, which will then enable you to distribute the services that we offer.
And leverage systems that are already working.
And then beyond that, build a team that can distribute more as a team than you can in any given hour, day, week, month, year, if you build it right.
Who was, or wrap up with this example, because when you said that, it just popped out of my head. Who was that lady that she got approached by that guy who was an advisor?
That lady that got approached by that guy.
Yeah.
You see what I'm up against? Go ahead.
Who he was challenging her on the assets under management she had.
Right.
I don't remember the numbers. That's what I was asking.
Rita Huckle.
Okay.
How the hell did I come up with that? And she's been building distribution and financial services for probably 35 or 40 years. Mm-hmm. And he knew of our company and asked her, what do you do? Oh, this is what I do. He's like, oh, I know that. And then and he was an investment advisor as well, mm-hmm. began to challenge her because of his perception of her company, of our company, about her assets under management. Now, so as an investment advisor with a securities license, you're investing, you're placing people's money in investments. You're not managing it. You have American funds and, huge third-party household names that manage the money. We place it there. And so once it's there, depending on the type of investment it is, there's a residual payment to you as the advisor. Mm-hmm. And so the more assets you have placed under management, the more those residual dollars are. And he, because he's a big, bad investment advisor, by the way, with no distribution, challenged her on her assets under management. She knew what he was doing and kind of turned it around on him and said, you seem to know what you're talking about. What are your assets under management? Now, I'm not going to get these numbers right. And they're probably going to be a huge disparagement between them because I'm trying to make an example. But he said something like 25 or 30 million. Mm-hmm. That would probably earn him 2 or 3 or maybe 400 grand a year. And so she said, wow, good for you.
I mean, it doesn't suck.
Buddy. It doesn't suck. And I may even be wrong on the residual income, but she said, my assets under management, because she's built distribution for 30 or 40 years, was something like 750 million. So her residual income just off of that part of her business is probably $800,000 or $900,000. Now, why is it less proportionally? Because she built a team that distributed versus doing it all herself. But the residual part of that profit to her is still $800,000 or $900,000. So
Well,
that's the difference distribution makes.
yeah, and I think there's also a gap there that if someone got this, right, just watching this right now could mean the whole different, right, could change their entire life. $300,000 probably working your ass off, right, every day, continuing to hit it.
Good point.
Or 800 grand that comes in whether you get out of bed or not.
Distribution.
I like the money that comes in whether I get out of bed or not.
Well, that's how you're going to retire next year, right?
Yep, that's the goal.
All right, cool.
All right. Thank you guys for plugging in.
That's it. We just wrapped up. We just
That's
stopped.
it. Yeah, I mean,
We're done.
We're done. That's it.
We're done. All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again soon.